It's round 8 of DreamHack Atlanta, and as we near a close here of our Swiss rounds, we're going to be finding out who's making our top 16 matches. So we got another match coming up with you, and I'm joined by the man from that lovely DreamHack t-shirt commercial. His name is Lorinda. I'm That's Admirable. And Lorinda, man, we've had some fire rounds so far in DreamHack. How you been feeling about it so far?
Really enjoying this now, especially watching this develop. I love watching Swiss develop, and somehow, as always, the names we know and love are mostly getting near the top of the charts.
So, well, what kind of players have you been seeing not being at the top of the charts in terms of players that you know, perhaps we don't know as well, or players that we aren't familiar with? What kind of newcomers have you been seeing?
Newcomers we can see looking through here. Meat, who I know nothing about at all, unfortunately. Sorry, Meat, is 6-1. He's hanging in there well. So Slim, we know a bit. Chelsea, that's a pun on British players or what? Is also 6-1, but mostly it's players like Calax and Seyoun and Gallen, players who haven't quite made that big breakthrough, who we all know, having watched a lot of tour stops this year, are so close. They've been to finals, been to semi-finals. All those guys looking for that first big win. But if you follow the tour stops this year, you will know these names. If you haven't, you probably don't know who they are. That's why they're in that sort of weird intermediate bracket, but these guys are good, and one of them's going to win it, I think.
That's why Neil and I are here to tell you about what's going on in the bracket and who these players are and how they've been performing as far as tour stops are concerned. Neil, and you spent a lot of time putting together a lot of brackets and algorithms stuff to look at these players' standings a lot quicker than usual. Yeah,
it's really helped, and it also helps get it in your memory. You go through each tour stop and look to see, is this guy called Crane the same as the other guy called Crane? Has Idiot Crane put his name in wrong again? And the answer is always yes. Fantasy, sort him out, please. He always puts a different name in. But there's some players who have got the same names who you would collate their stats. You suddenly realize, hang on, there are 3 guys called Paradox playing Hearthstone. Yeah. This is a truth. One in each region.
Yeah, kind of talking about those standings, we do have them up for you so you guys can take a look at some of the names that are floating near the top and that have been putting up those big performances. I am seeing a lot of recognizability as far as these brackets are concerned.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Obviously, Sir Slim, absolutely cool yesterday. He was the only member of his family who was cool yesterday, though. I think Cora was running around very excited at his 5-0 start. Well, Sir Slim himself was just like, well, I went to work, I did a business, that was it, really. Calax has put in a final already early in the year in Germany. Orange, you all know. Phenom is not Pheno, it's the American Phenom. He's also had a great year. He went to Copa earlier in the year, to the top 16 there, and his lineup looked like it was just going to destroy everybody, and he didn't actually get it done. He got defeated in the top 16 or top 8, I think it was top 8. Alan, another player who has just been getting relentless 6-3, 7-2s. Seyoun is one of the top players in terms of top 16s this year. He's been to 5, I believe it is. Sintalol, another player we all know. Ike, he's lost twice already. He's getting worse at this game.
Well, you know, I mean, 5-2 is a pretty darn good score, I will say. And then take a look at that bottom right. Marcopolo sitting down there at 5-2. He's going to be in our next match that's coming up here. He's going to be facing off against Tarei, who has a tour stop under his belt, the one in Oakland that was there. He was able to take that one down with Quest Rogue. You know, and once again, an iteration where players thought, Quest Rogue's done. It's not going to make it out this time. The experts who pilot the deck continue to put up performances. I haven't gotten quite a close look at exactly what Tarei's brought to this tournament thus far, but every single time you're at a tournament and Tarei's there, it seems like he's got a good record going on.
Don't want to totally overload everyone with just numbers after numbers, but there are very few players over 70% who have got a lot of wins. Tarei's running at nearly 72% over the year. That's 80 wins and 32 losses going into this event, and now he's 5-2 again. He is just a monster that hasn't quite... I mean, he's had that one win, but it hasn't translated into like maybe 6 wins or something, or 6 opposite. You know, he's got those sort of numbers that could have translated into even more. Marcopolo hasn't played much this year, but I remember him, and it is the same guy I've just checked, from Tempo Storm ran a series of things called the Gladiator Series.
I remember that.
They invited some pros, and then 2 people had to qualify through massive online cups. And Marcopolo qualified for one of those through the massive online cups. So that was a couple of years ago now, I believe. Yeah, so he's been around, even though he's not playing a lot, he's been around and doing well in Hearthstone a long time.
Yeah, you know, and often I've seen a lot of the standings and competitive stuff of players that are floating into the top of the bracket when I'm at a tour stop, and you know, I haven't met them personally. A lot of times they'll come and tell me a story, and I go, "Oh, I remember that. Yeah. I remember exactly what that was." It seems like that is a trend that I you know, kind of find amongst the players who float near the top of the brackets. You know, for these tournament and these tour stops, I always do meet a lot of new faces as well. You know, people being just kind of coming up and saying, "Hey, I just wanted to say hi," and they talk about their tour stop experience. You know, sometimes they had a couple rounds that didn't go quite how they planned, or you know, some of them they just run into a string of just absolute monster names, and it's like, I managed to take one of the matches though.
And they're the people who enjoy it the most, almost. They've come to the convention. As you can probably hear, there's a lot going on all around.
Very little else going on here at DreamHack.
Yeah, DreamHack's absolutely insane, and some people just, you can get one free entry to a tournament a lot of the time if you go to a big convention like a DreamHack. And they come and they go, okay, well, day one I'm going to play the Hearthstone, maybe run into a pro, get some experience. I'm going to have 2 days chilling around the convention. Then sometimes they go, oh, I'm 6-1. I better stay in the Hearthstone tournament now.
Yeah, I remember it was in DreamHack Denver. It was MTG Kid. It was a young kid who just like literally ran through a bracket, made a top 16. I was like, man, this kid knows what's up. And you watch him play, he'd get aggressive and start attacking face in spots where he thought he was going to trade. I was like, this kid's not afraid.
Yeah, they never are.
They never are.
It's those old guys that gets afraid.
Yeah, for real.
That's why we stand here, just talk about other people not being afraid.
Yeah. At least you still have a career in the advertisement sales business, with, you know, what with the T-shirt commercials and all.
Those T-shirt commercials, it took me ages. Yeah.
Yeah.
How they linked that to me, I'm so terrified right now.
Getting a look at the players on your screen as they're getting ready. Tarei is on your right. Marcopolo on your left. Tarei, one of the original World Championship competitors.
Yes.
As well. And, you know, he's talked a lot about how he's matured as a player and as a competitor through that time. And one of the most heartfelt things I think I've heard came from Tarei in terms of Hearthstone players and their maturity. And he had said that he felt like he didn't really understand what making it to the World Championship meant, like what it meant from an overall perspective, and that he feels he almost took it for granted in hindsight.
Okay, let's have a look at the picks and bans again. We're seeing these as you are. So Hunter, Druid, Paladin, and a broken pen, which is Mage.
I got you, Lorinda. It's Druid, Paladin, Mage for Marcopolo.
What is Mage? Anyway, I haven't heard of that before.
I imagine it would be Big Spell Mage. You know, Cora was reading through some of the deck lists and the brackets and seeing what was going on there. And, you know, Big Spell Mage, I still think has a place in events, although albeit I will admit I think it's got really tough uphill battles in a lot of matchups.
Yeah.
You know, the nightmare of a cube actually, you know, hitting the board and being activated the turn it happens. Big Spell Mage is the kind of deck that wants to and often can check, you know, big minion after big minion in a row. Where it really, I think it struggles is the decks that have high amounts of burn. Yes. Or, you know, just very over-the-top style of combo game plans. That's really where that deck seems to struggle to me.
It's also very linear.
Yes, and we haven't
kill your thing, have I got Jaina, no, lose.
Well, yeah, sometimes, yeah. We haven't really been seeing, like, too much of the over-the-top stuff. You know, a lot of Odd Warrior has floated near the top of the bracket. You know, if Togwaggle Druid is your opponent's Druid, you can ban that away. Again, it's like the decks that go, like, way over the top that tend to have a pretty good matchup against Mage. The thing about it for me is that it feels like it's quite even across the board on this one. So I'll have to take a look at the deck list specifically and see what it is. But who do you think has the edge in this matchup?
I mean, Tarei hasn't got Rogue. How can he win? I think Tarei has matured a lot as a player, so I think he's going to get this one done. He used to get into great positions and then just do horrible, terrifying, bad things. Like, you knew he was going to try and do some clever move, and then he'd order it wrong or something, and something terrible would happen. I think he's now been on camera with that win behind him, with that World Championship behind him, enough times to now just not do those silly things. I think he's got a lot more organisation in his head. I think that means that he'll get it done. Even though Marcopolo has been around a long time, he's not been much on camera. He's not been in front of the big stage very many times, and I think that will tell.
Well, I think I'm going to end up going with Marcopolo in this one. You know, it's hard for me to I'd say, put my word against Tarei, but Big Spell Mage excites me. I love my big Mage decks. I'm going to see how it goes, and you can get your vote in as well. We want to know what you think. If you're following the channel, and if you're not, make sure you are. You can hashtag Marcopolo, or you can hashtag Tarei and put your vote in there. We'll be tallying up the percentages and see what y'all think and see how it lines up. You know, it's very often I think I go against one of the big name players that I have known and followed for a long time, like Tarei, since 2014. Right. But I think, you know, if you're bringing Mage to a tournament and you're putting up a decent record with it, you have a strong plan. Druid's banned away from Tarei in this instance, and, you know, with what was remaining, I'm feeling like Big Spell Mage could be able to get it done. If that's what it is. I haven't looked specifically yet. We
haven't seen much Mage at all. We haven't seen any Mage when I've been casting. And, of course, Tarei winning the vote. I always take this as like a comment that I am better than you when these numbers come through like this. They're voting for me and you, really.
Well, that's one way to look at it. You know, you'd be wrong to look at it that way.
I would, but I
free.
like to encourage myself.
You are free to look at it that way, and I respect your right to do so.
I said that, and it plummeted by 6% instantly.
Woo! Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there we go. I don't always look at it that way, just sometimes. Just the 50% of the time it agrees with me.
Again, I'm teetering really close. I want to agree. I really do. But I just don't think it's the way it's going to be. So it looks like players are getting rearing and ready to go as game number 1 is about to get underway here at DreamHack Atlanta. We're in round number 8 of this last hero standing tournament. You win with a deck, you get to keep it. If you lose with a deck, it's out of the contention at that point.
And you're out of the game as well if you lose 3 times, because these guys are 5 and 2.
Yeah.
And 6 and 3 almost certainly won't get it done.
Must-win match. Oh, it's Murloc Mage. So, you know, take everything I said and actually multiply it. Murloc Mage, I think, is a heavy-hitting deck against anything that tries to have a slow game plan. It is a deck that is very demanding of you to pay close attention to the board and fight for it a lot. And against the decks that Tarei has left, I mean, you're looking at Odd Warrior, you're looking at what I assume is Shutterwalk Shaman, perhaps even, again, I'm trying to load up the deck list. I can't quite get the internet to work for me just yet. I mean, it's such an aggressive deck outright that when you get down to it, if you do not check the cards early, you die very quick.
I was watching Theo a few days ago playing this Death Rattle Hunter, and somebody was sniping him basically and just going over and over again with Murloc Mage into him. And I mean, this is Theo. This is one of the best players in the whole world. And he went he did go 50-50 for the longest time until the guy slowly ground him down. But it never looked like the Hunter's going to win ever in the matchup.
It feels that way too. I mean, here's when I know that a deck is a lot better than it seems like or it sounds. When I play against it and I'm very frustrated by what they're capable of doing, that's when I know I'm starting to get into a bad position. It's when I know that the deck is performing better than I feel like it should. Is when I play against it and I go...
Marcopolo did whiff on the 1-drop, having kept the Rockpool Hunter. That's a massive deal. But he has got pretty much everything else you could want in the hand. So Tarei will be just trying to occupy the board with minions. He does have, you know, removal in hand. He can actually generate minions, so he's going to be okay for a while. But the Murloc Mage, it just has enough burn to finish things off. The Murlocs tend to sort of end up running out of steam, and then you just go, oh, I'm going to fireball you now. I've had enough of you.
Yeah, I mean, it is a deck that really lives and dies by the board. I mean, you need to get it up quick and then, you know, be able to deliver some significant damage afterwards. The one benefit I'd say that Marcopolo has going with an early, you know, checked and disjointed board is that he's got the Egyptian God card. He's got Alaneth.
I think he might lose this, though, because double flanking strike into Grizzly with Houndmaster Shield and Spider Bomb. That is the hand that Tarei would pick out of his deck if he was choosing his cards.
Well, take a look at that draw, though.
Yes, there's a lot going on still.
I mean, there's still a lot of fighting room. You know, never underestimate overwhelming amounts of stupidity in overwhelming numbers, and that's basically what Murlocs are. They're not even capable of really saying words. You know, you get enough of these little things down, and then, you know, a gentle Megasaur shows up, and suddenly, you know, a pack of Murloc fish militia turns into an army.
I was wondering where you were going with like overwhelming stupidity in large numbers, but yeah, the fish, especially with the buff in hand as well, multiple buffs. If one or two of these hang around, and I'm glad you call them fish because I do that too.
Well, I mean, look at them.
They've got to be fish.
I don't know if they're in the water, out of it's like what's the combination of like the fish that goes on? The Little Mermaid. There we go.
The little Murloc.
It's the fish that turns into the land creature at some point.
I know that people who like Murlocs really hate them being called fish, so fish they are. That'll teach you guys.
Ooh. That does change my perspective a little bit, though.
Tarei, still plenty to do here. He's wondering whether to save this flanking strike for a potential war leader in a minute. But obviously, if you leave this guy hanging around, he can get out of control really fast.
Yeah, so. I mean, and that's really the trick for Tarei, right? You don't want to disrespect stuff, but the more you're able to check forward, kind of the better it is. And I think Grizzly's doing a pretty fine job of that. You know, one of the things that Tarei's deck's really going to struggle with is dealing with a wide board position. It opens him up to be able to be vulnerable to a board-wide buff, which is really what Murlocs are about. And any way you slice it, Marcopolo is probably going to be vulnerable to some sort of Rexar turn unless he chooses to Cold Light Seer. But it's not going to be like a pretty couple of turns for him. Marcopolo still has to, you know, fight very aggressively for board, kind of take those risks and see where it goes.
This is actually, it's almost the closest thing we have these days to old school Zoo.
It's a good way to put it.
You've got your buffs. You haven't got the card draw, really, but you've got your buffs and you've got your dudes, and you just have to work out the best way to make that work
It's
for
like
you.
bad versions of Savage Roar.
Bad Savage Roar.
It turns out they're still pretty good.
Turns out that most classes have bad versions of Druid cards.
Hey!
How strange is that?
That's a +1 charisma jet you just got there.
That takes you to -9.
God, I love Druid.
That's a -1.
I'll take it. Give me my 5 cards.
If you haven't got 10 mana, it's not turn 3 yet. Anyway, Tarei
rapidly approaching.
Tarei has got held on to that removal. He's now in a really good spot with Houndmaster, Spider Bomb, as well as Flanking Strike.
Well, really good is relative. I mean,
yeah, relative to this being a bad matchup.
Like, you left a Tidecaller in play for 2 turns. That thing levels up real quick. I mean, you thought Questing Adventurer was out there getting some XP. Murloc Tidecaller levels up really fast. And I don't know if you've ever encountered these when you're playing World of Warcraft, but they attack in packs and very quickly.
Do they?
Oh,
I never got past like level 14 on World of Warcraft.
Oh, yeah, that's right before you encounter that spot.
I was dying a lot even then.
Yeah.
I was so bad.
Sorry, Neil.
I enjoyed it, though.
True masochist.
Tarei is in a lot of trouble right now, though.
Now, that being said...
But he has saved all this removal, so that's what I was talking about.
Shaw is the big one. It's like very rare that you can make huge board impact with just a cube, you know, stationary in play. That's why Shaw is such an important card to the deck, is it allows you to burst back onto the board and get things going again. But this is, you know, I said it last round, we have entered into Demahe territory. This is a lot of it.
Yeah, good luck with your 7. I know he's held on to this and it felt right at the time, but the little guy gets out of hand so quickly, as we've discussed.
I think you know, I don't want to say I was in favor of Flanking Strike on the turn. The Grizzly looked good, but you look at it in hindsight, if you're not going to kill the Murloc Tidecaller on the following turn, you're in a heap of trouble.
I think the problem you have, though, is if your 3/3 gets blown up and then you just occupy the board of the Murlocs and you've got no removal left, somewhere you have to take a chance against. When you're unfavored, you have to pick a turn and say, this is the turn I'm willing to take a chance. He took the chance, and now he's facing an army of fish.
Yeah, and it's much less about him being able to stabilize the board. I think he can do that. The problem is going to be that there's still burn spells left in Marcopolo's deck, and that's really where Tarei is going to get got here. I mean, you just put 24 health of taunt into play. You pretty much brick-walled your opponent right here. However, we're looking at Alaneth, and Alaneth is going to get checked by the Gluttonous Ooze from Tarei's hand, but that's going to yield no armor, and it's going to be 3 more cards for Marcopolo.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close. Oh, no, it's not.
No,
it's going to be just dead.
It's not. It's going to be death.
1-0 to Marcopolo101.
Put a little check mark next to this mage here real quick, and now Hunter is out of contention for Tarei. He's going to have to be on a different deck. That's last hero standing. You keep the deck you win with, and the losing deck is then out. So you have to find a counter to what's remaining. I do
like the mix of Last Hero and Conquest. I think it's about right, where you never quite get used to one format and then they have to play the other one. Keeps people on their toes.
I'm thinking there may be an overlay error here. I'm looking at the deck list from Tarei now as the internet has finally loaded up after a solid 17 minutes.
We do have 400 million people all watching different esports trying to get on the internet at the same time.
I'm seeing Rogue in Tarei's lineup.
Oh, he wouldn't play Rogue. Yeah, he would.
According to Smash.gg, it's Druid, Hunter, Rogue, and Shaman are the decks that are there. He's going to fire up Shaman for this.
We have to wait and see.
And this is a deck that I think is more positioned to be able to fight against Murloc Mage. You know, you saw how tough it was to just answer everything in a row and then really fight. Well, that's what AoE's for. Yeah,
and you also have the minion, the early minion backup. You don't have much of it, but, you know, just things like Chain Gang. Oh, are you okay?
No.
Do you need a chair?
Look at Marcopolo's hand.
Do you need a DreamHack T-shirt?
Yeah. You have to wipe the sweat from my brow for this one. Golly, that's like the premier 1-drop in the deck. He's got both of them.
Yeah, Lightning Storm that lot.
You need to.
You're not going to. They're going to be like 5 or 4 health.
And you got to do it before turn 3 is the thing. I mean, for Marcopolo, this is a Tidecaller to buff the health.
And Volcano suddenly looks a long way away. obviously Tarei can't see the hand, so he's got to keep it, and it might still get the job done. But
wise of Tarei, I think, to keep the Glacial Shard in this spot, because that's going to help check the early pressure from it. So now, wow, we've got some good hands so far, Neil.
And he has to freeze this because he's expecting Rockpool Hunter next turn.
Oh, absolutely. Has a copy of Healing Rain already to restore from the burn section, and then...
To be honest, I'm expecting Rockpool Hunter next turn. He hasn't even drawn the card yet.
You probably just hear a power.
Yeah, seems good. Book of Murlocs, though, in hand, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the one I'm looking at is the Alaneth yet again. You know, when all the cards get jammed in the middle and they come out with nothing left on board, that's really the big advantage, I think, that Murloc Mage has over a lot of its, you know, aggressive predecessors, is that it can reload with Alaneth, and if it goes unchecked, you run away with the game a lot of times.
The other thing also is Shaman is very good at not dying, but it's not very good at seizing control and actually hitting you. So you get time to use the cards from the Luneth, you get time to use the cards from the Book of Murlocs.
And Tarei early on is going to be under heat to check this, and when he sees Book of Specters and nothing get discarded, you're starting to worry. You don't want a Lightning Storm this early, but if you save it, can you get punished? And so,
oh, you can.
The thought for Tarei then comes into, well, let's just say my opponent does have a buff for this. Let's just say they have Cold Light Seer.
Marco 3 kept, right? I believe he 3 kept. Sorry, putting you on the spot. I think he 3 kept. You were looking at your notes at the time. But I think he 3 kept, which means that Tarei knows this is almost certainly a buff. Because why do you keep the 2-1 dudes? You wouldn't keep an Luneth with them. You'd throw one of the 1s away and try and get yourself a
I don't know.
Rockpool.
I think you would keep a Luneth.
I think you'd keep a Luneth, but then you wouldn't keep both the 1s. You'd probably try and hunt for a 2 or 3.
Okay.
So,
the Tidecaller, though? I don't know.
So you keep Tidecaller, a Luneth?
I think I would keep Tidecaller for certain.
That's what I mean. So I don't think Tarei can put him on Tidecaller, Luneth. So what's that third card? So he may actually read that this Seer is on the way, and that's why he's taking so long.
War Leader, you know, possibility.
Yeah,
it's Megasaur.
That's not fun either. Yeah, any of that stuff's not fun.
Yikes.
Yikes, indeed.
You can see why these two in particular are the ones that I had this reaction to, is because you don't want to storm this early, but Tarei feels forced to.
I think that's a response to not only the massive hand size, but also the mulligan decision.
Yeah, also just responsible. You know, your opponent Book of Specters into 3 cards.
Plus last game you didn't do this and you lost.
Yeah.
That's something that shouldn't factor in, but in the heat of the action sometimes does. But this, although it looks good for Tarei because Marcopolo has very little to do, Tarei has no mana next turn. Then he has no cards for a few turns. Then he has a Volcano, and then this whole process starts again.
Yeah. The benefit is that the reload for Marcopolo is quite weak. It's just a gentle Megasaur with no buff. That's how you want to see that card, and then finds Gluttonous Ooze. Okay, so now with Volcano, with the heal, and with Gluttonous Ooze, I think Tarei has some real game here.
Yeah.
I think something can give. Oftentimes, when I find myself in the Shutterwalk position in these aggressive matchups, what I try to do is I try to get Manatide Totem out when they just have the single big minion.
I think Coin Manatide's really interesting here because they want to hit you in the face. They don't want to leave that Manatide up. And it puts Marco on the spot. Either or is not that bad for you.
Like a shield block.
Yeah.
Draw a card, hope to gain some life.
Yep. That's a good way of putting it. You're good at this.
Now, for Marcopolo's side, I mean, do you ever let it become a shield block, or do you let it become Arcane Intellect? Arcane Intellect sounds a lot worse than shield block in terms of, you know, your opponent's progress.
But Bluegill into War Leader sounds like a lot of damage.
Starts to get development down.
And do you want to Volcano your own your own Manatide and overload yourself? Good luck to you.
I love when I'm able to do that to Manatide Totem. When I'm able to go, 3 health on board, huh? That's a Volcano cushion for me.
Yeah. If you want to blow it up, you miss your turn, blow up your own card, yeah, I'll have some of that.
Yeah, and that's how cushions work. You know, they're oftentimes volcanic.
Volcanic cushions?
Yeah, well, that's the Manatide is right now.
That doesn't sound comfortable at all.
It's not, but, you know, sometimes it'll get the job done. Like, if you're really sleepy.
I think I just sleep on the floor. I don't want a volcanic cushion.
I think the Volcano cushion is for you, if you can sleep on the floor, my friend. Let me tell you more about it.
We're in hot Lanza already. We don't need, like, volcanic cushions. So instead going for the...
This is 16 health on board.
Yeah, and there's a lot of attack coming in next turn. Now, Tarei, if he does launch this Volcano, there's a strong chance that the Megasaur is the one that lives.
That's the most likely outcome.
Which is not that bad for him. A 5/1's not a troublesome minion. It's not fun taking 5, but it's not, you know.
That's the tough point in Volcano. Now, there's a chance your Manatide lives. You know, it's like, picture it like a brawl. A more weighted brawl.
This just sounds like
well,
some sort of psychologist. Picture yourself in a happy place where your Mana Tide lives.
Oh!
Told you.
10 damage that 4 mana has dealt now. And so for Marcopolo, you just saw back-to-back AoE. Tarei has nothing on board. You have a 5-1, and you have gas in hand. This is the turn where you're so tempted to just jam Aluneth, and I really don't want to see Marcopolo do that.
You've got him on the ropes. You've seen his hat to Volcano. He's got no way. He's got 4 mana next turn. I want to see a Bluegill and just another Megasaur. The 5/4s are getting it done.
Really?
Yeah. They're getting it done on their own.
You're not thinking War Leader here. You're thinking Megasaur. You're thinking mana efficiency.
Yeah, mana efficiency and just another big thing. He's shown you he can't deal with the first big one. I just give him another one to worry about. This is obviously fine as well, but...
Looking for a 1-drop? Oh, boy.
Okay.
That's exactly what he was looking for.
This looks good.
Punish.
Wow.
Well, Tarei got into a bad spot here. The Tide Callers are what causes this, too. The nature of how aggressive that minion can be in terms of damage output.
This deck is incredibly similar to the Mana Worm Mage at the end of the day. It functions differently. The burn spells are minions, but...
So they're better?
So they stay around and burn you more. But basically, it's got very, very similar curve, very similar means of winning. So what kind of strengths and weaknesses?
What kind of deck is strong against this then, though? I mean, so far it's been making work at Tarei quite quick.
It's not that great against decks that get the board early, like odd decks in particular. They just stick more things down than you do and do some trading, and then you're okay.
Odd Paladin, that sort of thing.
That sort of stuff. You're a little bit... It seems like you're fast, but suddenly they take out your key Murlocs, and then you're left with a 3/3 guy who doesn't buff anyone because he's got no friends. Crew. Yeah, and then suddenly you're just overwhelmed. Heavy control, depending how it starts off, can do fine. But it's a decent deck. I think it's underrated because nobody likes to admit Murlocs are good in any meta ever.
This is a potential lethal here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's in a world of trouble, is Tarei. But he has only 2 turns to survive if he can manage it somehow. I don't think he can.
Whoa.
Eat Murloc.
Wow.
Get Murlocked.
That's basically lethal.
Yeah. 1 is very close to lethal as you can get, apart from 0.5.
Yeah, I don't think Tarei's got a way out of this. It's not going to do it. Tarei, game 3 coming up. Marcopolo, blistering starts, is going to take a 2-0 lead.
This feels a little bit different to the first game of the day.
The exact opposite.
Bish, bash, fish.
Murloc Mage is real.
See, this makes me happy, and now you're looking sad.
It scares me.
You like your sort of grindy, interesting...
I always mulligan like they're big spell
finesse decks. I just like going, bosh.
Just every time I mulligan like they're big spell mage. And then all of a sudden it's... I'm like, why do I always forget this exists, even though it happens to me every single time? I tuned in the same person twice in a row. How did I forget? It just happened.
Another advantage of playing this deck in a tournament like this is see how quick it goes. Imagine how, I know Jacasso's feeling right now. He just played 7 rounds of that warrior thing. And he's like grinding every round for hours. And Marcopolo's been just chilling, enjoying DreamHack, winning a few games of Hearthstone in between the hours he has off.
Think of how Tarei feels right here. You're about to queue up Quest Rogue versus possibly one of the outright most aggressive decks in the tournament right now.
I can hear him from here. He's going, why did I specialize in this deck?
It's for situations just like this, when your back's against the wall and you got to win 3 straight.
The other thought going through his head is probably, I hope they don't nerf this again. It's me. It's getting tough now, kids. Interesting to see when he chooses to play the quest. It won't be for a while.
So Dan, I heard an interesting fact from him when I was watching Talkstone, where according to the data aggregate sites, there's about 0.3% of games where quest is not played on turn 1.
I heard that. It sounds way too low a number to me. Any game like this, you shouldn't play it on 1, surely.
It sounds way too low to me as well, but how much higher could it really be? Let's just say it's 1%. That means 1 out of every 100 games you play.
Shouldn't it just be every time you play a deck that's going to smack you in the face really hard? It feels like it should be 10%.
Depends on your hand, right?
I do wonder, though, in those stats, how many people are learning the deck and want to see how it works. They just go turn 1 quest without thinking. Or was these high-level stats? The high-level stats is quite small.
Well, it's just the aggregate across the board.
Okay, so...
This is one of the reasons that I tend to use the data sites as a guide.
Yes.
I think they're very strong guides, but I think you should be using it as just that, a guide.
I like to look what the best, or what the worst sort of 3 or 4 cards in a deck are, and then take my own spin on why would that be, and if I can work out a reason, oh, maybe this is a bad card, let's look for things. Rather than just go, that's the 30th card, that's the one I'm taking out.
Well, setup from Tarei certainly delayed the opener for Marcopolo, and time is really what you need with Quest Rogue. You know, oftentimes, this deck used to just be like a how fast can you complete quests sort of deck. And then since then, you know, when Sonya got introduced into the game, it turned more into a fight very aggressively for board and then figure out a way to complete the quest later on kind of deck.
Chose to ping there rather than develop the Rockpool Hunter. That was an interesting choice, just because this Rockpool Hunter is going to be in hand for quite a while.
I am a bit curious about it. I do kind of like it, though. You know, Murloc Tidecaller has to die from your opponent, and they have to have help to do it. Why not?
Wow, this is, I mean, if Tarei's going to get it done, this is at least some of the way towards doing it.
This is a big, it's a big lead that Tarei, I think, is building up here, too. I mean, Marcopolo's still got a lot to work with, but, you know, Tarei's got Shadow Step. He's, you know, just bounced the Glacial Shard, vanishes in hand. There's a lot of ways to get towards that victory spot.
The trouble is with Vanish is, I mean, it's good, he needs it, you definitely want it. The trouble is with cheap Murlocs, which currently Marcopolo doesn't have that many of, you can just go, okay, you vanish my stuff, here's my stuff, let's go again.
Yeah.
And without a giggling inventor to get in the way, and with things like Fireball in hand and Frostbolt to come, wow.
You know, you're living on very thin ice when you're playing Quest Rogue. You are hoping that things just go your way.
Yeah, and this is about the best he could hope for, and he hasn't really... Well...
So he gets a 2 out of that. He's Vanish the next turn. Is going to be a 3 on the Glacial Shard, and then return everything to hand.
He's winning the damage race. He's ahead.
And it's 4 on the Glacial Shard with the Vanish, and then the 5th one comes down. So the next couple draws for Tarei, quite vital.
Yeah, if he can draw some things to go with the quest and then maybe get some minions. He doesn't even need the health game, because this early game has gone pretty well for him, relatively to how bad this matchup is. Maybe he can just find his 4/4s that don't need buffing are bigger than his opponent's 3/3s that do. Yeah, maybe.
Wax Elemental is a big one that comes to mind.
Yeah, there's a lot still to do here for Tarei, though. And he's playing on about 20 health, because he's going to get Fireball Frostbolt pinged at some point. Interesting choice here for Marcopolo. Normally, it'd be Snap Cold Light Seer, but he knows that the way the Rogue protects itself is that Vanish, so he's just going for 1-drops, because then he can repopulate boards so much easier.
Cheap stuff.
Sonya. This is so close to being good things. But every turn he's just got to stop this onslaught. He is going to complete the quest, but is it actually going to do anything?
That's where that draw comes in. You know, we're also approaching the turn 9 marker, where Valera can actually be a big impact as well.
Yeah, it turns out that ice block effects are pretty good against aggro when you're hanging in there. Again, Marcopolo, the reason he's thinking here is, if I get vanished again, if I don't get vanished again, I win. If I do get vanished again, what do I want in hand? How do I want it to work?
I kind of like that he went for the Discover last turn to try to find extra 1-drops.
Yes.
I think it's really clever.
I do too. His hand was really clunky at the time, and if he'd taken the obvious Seer, which would be the normal, I'm not thinking whilst playing ladder take, he would be in a lot of trouble right now.
I love that's the description for it.
So I'm going to play 100 games today.
I'm playing ladder take.
Here's the best card. I'm not going to bother. I'm busy watching DreamHack on TV instead.
Cooking some food, playing some Hearthstone. You look down, you go, oh, I skipped my turn.
I've never done that. There's people who fall asleep while playing.
I've done that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were you playing Odd Warrior Mirrors at the time?
No, I was just chilling in bed late at night.
Another Glacial Shard.
Well, that's interesting now, because
super interesting.
It means that Vanish is not necessary. It's just Glacial Shard 4, Glacial Shard 5. Make them 4/4s.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We've got a game of Hearthstone here, kids. And he's still on 29.
Here we go.
That attack looks relevant to Tarei, sets to 24. You know, the increments of damage coming for us from Tarei.
Still has the Vanish in case of emergency, but the emergency is coming pretty soon, even now.
Well, the other thing, too, is with the 2 Glacial Shards and with another Vanish in hand, you know, Tarei doesn't necessarily have to play defense at this point. It's like a counter offense. You get to attack for 8 and then Vanish and then play 2 Glacial Shards.
Do you Fireball a minion? Everyone hates to do that when they're playing these sort of decks, but Tarei has 2 cards in hand.
Exact 2 cards. I mean,
how bad can it be if you Fireball a minion and trade into the other one here?
I don't really know like how much of a read you could have on something like that. Like,
well, I say, so the read is what beats me rather than what is it. And 2 minions on board beats you if you're not careful. But killing your opponent until they're dead from it is also a way of winning the game.
This way Marcopolo is, you know, he's forcing one of these cards to be either like, you know, a double Phantom Knife setup or a Vanish or like Sonya Lifesteal.
And then he's forcing the 3rd Vanish to be the next card. He's seen them both, even if this is Vanish.
Well, that's the thing. I actually don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, again, Tarei pushes 8 damage down to 16, gets to Vanish, redevelop 4 more here. That's a possibility of play. But he also can play Sonya, trade into 2 minions, freeze 2 others.
That seems so good.
He's got a lot of play here. Now, Tarei's looking at the aggressive line because if he goes with the attack face with Glacial Shard and then Vanish and then reset them, he can follow up with Sonya afterwards.
This is where someone like Tarei can get his wins, where someone who hasn't played 10 million games of the deck can't. They know their exact win conditions for this situation because they've been here before.
Phantom Knives draw a card. Stabilize some defense here. It looks like he's ready to use his own life total aggressively here to pick off this 1 health minion that's remaining.
I mean, this health total has been protected since the start of the game.
That's why you fight aggressively, so you can use this later on. This is where it's most critical. Now this is 12 damage.
Fireball.
It's 12 damage into you know, a Vanish redevelop, perhaps.
Stargazer Luna is a terrific card next turn. But Marcopolo needs to really have a good thinking about how do I lose, how do I win even. It's starting to become
yeah, he's behind now. This is supposed to be an easy matchup.
This is an easy matchup. He's playing Tarei. It's never an easy matchup when you're playing Tarei. Especially when he draws 15 Glacial Shards.
Yes.
15!
This is not how this is supposed to work.
Yeah, that's exactly. You can hear Marcopolo thinking that from here. That's not how this is supposed to work.
Megasaur evaluate on whether or not.
Oh, Divine Shield seems pretty good. It forces him to have the Vanish.
Stealth would do the same.
Yep,
not.
That's fine too.
Runs out on me.
And I feel
it's only one of the Murlocs gets stealth. I forgot it's a Megasaur, not a Murloc.
Yeah, you have to Fireball, I feel. I know I said that last turn, but
I really don't want to let this Sonya live, but
I want the Sonya to go away.
Oh, no, that's not. Oh, jeez. So Marcopolo is looking at this and going, you can't kill all my minions unless he wants to use a Sonya.
But you can kill things and freeze things.
I don't know, Neil. He does have 5 damage hidden with a Fireball in hand, so it could be just playing another Fireball out here as well. Also has the Murloc War Leaders to buff up the damage. I think this is a reasonable line of play for Marcopolo. He's just looking for counter damage.
Sure.
You have a very short clock to kill the opponent at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he is now going to have outs to just win the game on every turn. If he hits you in the face for 5 with the hidden Murloc, Fireballs you for 6, you're pretty close.
Yeah.
But
so I think at the end of the day, this is quite wise. It just happens to be that Tarei has the card that takes care of that. And now you're looking at charge damage being lethal if these Glacial Shards stick. Thinking Sousy Deckhand. That's about the only one.
I'm always uncomfortable when I have like 5 cards in hand and I'm winning and I'm looking for ways where I feel that I'm behind and need to win. I think you can afford to just play safer there.
Just try to avoid the pitfalls.
Yeah.
Is it any different if he fireballs Sonya there, though? And there's only 8 damage on board. I mean, Tarei goes through with basically the same play. It just yields 4 less damage. You get 16 instead of 12. Those are basically the same life totals right now.
Sure. He could have also fireballed one of these things earlier, so not so many things got traded and Sonya. He can't really predict a Sonya there, but again, you go through their deck. What beats me? That's one of the cards that beats you.
Yeah, it's hard to do that.
It is.
I think the more I think about it, the more I feel like I agree with Marcopolo's line here. It's just, you know, Tarei, again, look at how aggressively he fought. He basically just sacrificed the South Sea deckhand early on to occupy 2 mana from Marcopolo. He's like a preemptive kill on a minion. You know, it doesn't matter how many cards they have, it matters how much stuff they have in play. 1 mana to occupy 2 mana turned out to be a pretty good play.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to side with the guy who's doing really well in the Swiss tournament that I'm not playing, rather than my own thoughts when it comes to these things, but he's dead to a lot of things now, though. That's not one of the things. Got 2 more draws at it if he wants to try and find a chance.
1 South Sea deckhand outright kills him.
Mimic Pod, fan of knives. If he wants to go that route and just try and find it, or...
It deals 1 damage.
He's still got Minstrel into charge, into Hero Power, into deckhand if it comes out. Oh. The game's back on again. And Marcopolo's face is resigned. He thinks, I'm dead.
I think he might be.
So many options.
Where does the damage push come in?
Tarei's dead to a lot of things. Don't forget, he doesn't know there's only 1 Fireball. There could be Fireball Frostbolt.
Yeah,
He's going to factor all that in.
I think it's got to be double Fireball. Maybe I've done my math wrong here.
But Tarei may end up trading here because he may think he's dead. He can work out he wasn't dead last turn. There's things he can work out.
That much is in order for sure. And it's do or die time. Marcopolo's got to figure something out.
That doesn't help. Megasaur into Taunt can help.
So I was thinking, how do you still got to win though? Like, you know, your opponent just had Elven Minstrel hit the board, right?
I think if you don't die for 2 or 3 turns, you do win. You just get the burn together.
How do you not die for 2 of the 8?
Stop asking me the impossible, please. This is where you wish Book of Spectres was just Arcane Intellect. Because you want your spells, not your Murloc.
Yeah.
It's the right play, obviously, in the deck, but... He also knows he wasn't dead last turn, so he knows that if he can kill 2 of these...
I feel like if you Fireball, you're just never getting there. I think you're right on the Megasaur Taunt. I think that's what it's got to be.
Time runs out on you.
Gotta make your choice. Gotta make your choice. The vote waits for no man, not even life coach. Oh!
Tarei's gonna pull it out. Game 4 coming up.
Didn't expect this.
That is not the win you're supposed to get if you're in Tarei's seat, but we have seen him in these positions so many times. It looks like he's down and out, and then suddenly 1 miracle win, and it's a brand new series.
This deck's too good.
Honestly, that was one with good play.
Yeah,
it really was. Like a turn 1 South Sea deckhand in that spot. You're looking at it, you're like, I quest on turn 1, dagger on turn 2, South Sea deckhand answer something on turn 3.
Yeah, Marcopolo, the shake of the head, it's like, wow, I've just been hit by, I've just Tarei'd. It's like, this hurts. But he's still in the tournament 5-2. If he wins this one of the next 2 games and wins his next match, he will be in the top 16.
And in true aggressive fashion of the Murloc Mage, Token Druid is the Druid deck that's behind there, and Odd Paladin is the other deck that's lined up. So it's going to be Token Druid.
This is a bad matchup for the Quest Rogue.
I feel like it can be quite poor. You know, Tarei is under the gun to be able to deliver a killing blow to Marcopolo, I feel, at some point. You have to use Vanishes super wisely in the matchup. There's
just looking at this hand.
It's very good.
How do you like Sonya in your opening hand? I like Sonya in my opening hand. It's amazing to me that even someone like Tarei and the other Quest Rogue players like PNC, some of those guys, always look like they're in immense pain whenever they play this deck. It's like...
It's so hard to play. It really is.
They play thousands of games. They still don't know It's not like, it never becomes instinctive somehow.
Every time I play this deck, like I focus in and I dig deep and I just go, there's just so many different things I can do that my head is hurty.
I wonder if we'll ever see Prep Quest 1-drop.
Someone out there has to have
Someone
done that.
must have done it, right? Prep Quest Deckhand Go. I have no cards, but I've got the board.
If someone had managed to do that and then had perfect mana to complete quests, play quests, and kept spending all of their mana the rest of the game to deliver perfect lethal while also attacking with the dagger every single turn, to me, that's the ultimate display.
HS Replay, hit us up. Who did it?
Honestly, I don't know if that would be, you know, blind ignorance or an absolute genius. It's one of those two, though.
Yeah, you never can tell the difference. They're so similar, those two things.
Tarei says, you know what? I really want a one-cost Sonya for later on.
Yeah, that's exactly the point here. It looks really weird when you first ever see it, but that's exactly it. You just want it to merge so well with your charge minions.
It's a form of ramp. You're investing 2 mana right away to get a 2-mana discount later on. It's prepped a minion. Think about it.
How long do I have? Oh, I'm in the middle of a cast.
Take as much time as you need.
Right.
How often do you get to prep a minion?
It's just cheating.
It feels very weird. Like,
oh. When
I can say with full confidence, this is not what I would have done this game.
Whenever I watch the players do it, though, it's always so obvious. And I sit there with the cards in my hand, and they sort of all flip through the gaps in between my fingers and land on the carpet and make a mess on the floor.
And I go,
like,
I'm just dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way I feel every time I play this deck.
And even if you're watching 2 or 3 good players sort of collaborating, playing the deck, you're like, they're dumb too. And then you watch Tarei play, you're like, he's not dumb.
Like, wow, that's really smart.
He's really good.
Apparently you play the deck.
Look at me.
Now that's weird.
Yeah.
When is that good?
When is
2 Valeeras a good thing to have?
Why wouldn't it be good?
Well,
You get immunity 2 turns in a row. Double Ice Block was good.
that usually doesn't really matter too much, but, you know, I'd say if there's a matchup where I could see that being a realistic difference, this is one of them.
It's around that sort of turn where you're about to die, 9, 10-ish in this matchup.
You know, they're just about to Savage Roar and Power of the Wild and get very murdery, and suddenly you go, protect myself. And they go, okay. And then you go, protect myself.
Yeah,
go,
this is the sort of thing that in the middle of a tournament setting, it's not that easy to keep a track of. There's 2 of them. You may even, sort of thing you can blunder away. Like, you see the first one, you forget it's a Mimic Pod card.
Yeah, this is where that note-taking would be, you know, of vital importance.
Tarei has all the goods he needs here. And Marcopolo's not even challenging this for that reason. He doesn't want the trades going into his minions until he's ready to actually just deliver lethal.
Knows the Sonya's there. This is like a wait for a Whispering Wood, Soul the Forest, and then follow it with Big Buff turn. And the ramp is really, I think, what's going to end up offsetting this the most.
Yeah, he's calculating now whether he can go for it. You see Marcopolo like, hasn't blinked for about 3 minutes. Intensely focused on how exactly when to pull the trigger on this.
Look at me. Here we go.
It's like watching some alien play the game somehow. It's like, what's happening?
Why is this a good card in this deck? It just feels like it shouldn't be.
It's just a thing that doesn't die, but it doesn't die twice. And this is exerting no pressure. So Marcopolo's got time to wait because Tarei can't complete the quest until Marcopolo lets him.
More time you give, though, the more time, you know.
Well, normally, yes, but with the Sonya situation, Marcopolo's actually buying himself time by doing nothing.
I don't know who that favors.
I mean,
Here's the thing. When it's going that way, one of them's wrong. And I don't know which one it is.
I think what it is Marcopolo, this is the lesser of 2 evils. So it's bad for him to wait, but it's worse for him not to.
I think I agree with that.
So it's kind of right. It feels wrong, but it's actually correct play on both sides.
What is Tarei going to hurry up here? Like, no, that's not going to happen.
Right, so
now,
he's happy going slow, but you've got to let him go slow, or he's going to go even better.
Yeah, and so now when you do this, Soul of the Forest is, likely to back this up, but, Marcopolo's hands full. And so one of the things you're thinking about in that situation is my opponent has Fan and Knives Prep Vanish. I'm going to lose all that stuff I just did.
Yeah.
So instead, put your opponent on having, say, Vanish in this spot. And then you can make a push later on, or having to have 2 Fan of Knives in this spot. Those are very difficult things to do.
Fan of Knives, Deckhand, and Sonya is stuff that kills things.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you could make 3 more deckhands in that vein?
Oh, you could just make infinite deckhands.
So it would be like a pretty nice clear here if he is to go with like a Fan of Knives, Sonya deckhand turn. It gives him a lot of room to work with.
Yeah.
In future turns. He's going to wipe out a lot of these minions.
And what you're saying about the double Valera is just going to be right on the right time, most likely.
Here we go.
Able to use that weapon as a resource once more.
4th deckhand and then 5th one in hand.
Seems good.
Wax Elemental in the way. That Sonya is going to get swiped.
Oh, you betcha.
It might not. It's just a Wax Elemental.
Well, it's a 4/4. It's a Wax
I'll
new
rephrase
element.
it. That Sonya is going to die this turn.
Okay, yes, let's go with that. Sure. Not a million miles from being able to set up some sort of lethal here over the next couple of turns, Marcopolo. He is, because there's 2 Valeras in his opponent's hand, but double Savage Raw's already there. He's got the Soul of the Forest in hand. He's got everyone's favorite Druid card in hand, the coin. I mean, sorry, Ultimate Infestation.
It's my favorite Druid card.
With the coin?
No, Ultimate Infestation.
Okay.
There's 2 things I like in Hearthstone. It's number 1, when my minions kill minions and stick around. Or number 2, when my cards draw lots of cards. Ultimate Infestation does both.
But it costs 10.
That's the other thing I want to do, spend 10 mana.
On turn 4.
That's the most you can spend.
This is fair. And he does indeed go with that.
He's going to seize the damage.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually didn't think about this. That's 18. He's setting up the Ultimate Infestation lethal.
Oh.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah, this is fun times for Marcopolo. If...
Wow, I was just dead wrong. Sonya didn't die this turn.
Can Tarei gain enough health to survive the UI to the face and kill these minions?
The answer is technically yes. So it's South Sea Deckhand. You complete quest. You have 7 mana left over. 5 of it goes into quest, then 2 goes into Vicious Scalehide. You move up to 6 health. You use Deckhand, Sonya, Scalehide to clear out the board.
Yeah, you have to be careful when you play the quest here, otherwise your Scalehide doesn't... It doesn't die anyway, so you just get the 4.
Yeah, obviously you want to attack after you play the quest.
Yeah.
It gives you extra health.
Guess again.
No, I was thinking the Scalehide wouldn't die, but it wouldn't die anyway, so you can't sneakily get an extra 1 or 2 health out of it, is what I was hoping to do. All right, so that survives.
Well, there's no Moonfires in Marcopolo's deck.
Flashbacks to yesterday.
6 and 5 is awfully close, but this feels like a world of difference where the damage is concerned. And look at that poke onto the Zola. The hero power Zola. Is that the difference right now? Is that really the difference?
Looks like it.
Is that really what's going to change this game right now? Trying to set up a kill on a 2-2, and then getting to this point where you double Savage Roar, set your opponent to 2 instead of 1, and then they're able to get away with it by gaining 4 health. Is that really how it's going to make the difference in this game?
It is looking like. Which of these things do you kill?
The face.
But that doesn't kill the face.
That's what I'm upset about.
But you draw a lot of cards, and then maybe you can kill the face. You do 5 to face this turn, and you do it again next turn.
If you're Marcopolo's spot, I think you're very upset about what just happened.
I mean, you just lost with Murloc mate to this. Now you're losing to a situation where you had an almost guaranteed lethal. Oh.
Significant pickups, though.
And he's got a little bit of time. But...
Oh, boy.
4/4 Divine Shield Elemental.
And when Tarei sees that ultimate infestation hit Sonya instead of his own face, the world is now Tarei's oyster. How does he win from here?
However he likes.
I think he is very close to have seized full control over the situation. The lifesteal meaning still pecking away.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out what he's actually dead to. He's seen both Savage Roars. So he's not dead to sort of swipe Savage Roar, Hero Power.
One of the swipes is gone. I mean, the removal left is, you know, it's Spellstone and Swipe.
Yeah. Second UI's in there somewhere. It's a bit more damage. Tarei just gonna get a little health gain anyway out of this 4-2, so it's sneaky 4 to face.
And this is, I think, really a good illustration from Tarei about how important lifesteal is, and you know how vital it is to keep it. I don't think it's super vital for Tarei to continue to lifesteal turn after turn after turn after turn. He's got a lot of defense in hand. You know, 2 Wax Elementals, the Vanish, another copy of the Valera. I don't think the second Valera is even really playing into his mind that much. It's more like a
9 mana, gain 5.
It's an emergency utility tool in case you need to you know, top deck something specific.
Yes.
In this instance, he's going to move up to 19 when this Scale Hide dies sometimes. And even at 15, you have so much to put in the way and so many modes of defense that finding a way to eventually establish the board position to be ultimately in your favor is the main goal right now. And I don't think he needs life total to do that. I think he needs cards.
Marcopolo may come to the conclusion in a minute that I can't beat Vanish, so here's all my things.
That's a tough pill to swallow, and also, you know, have to account for card tracking. If he's been tracking cards, he knows there's a second Valera there.
Yeah, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. I think he's reached this far in the tournament. He's an established player. He's been around a long time.
I'm going to assume that he's been paying close attention, as his body language would tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good enough. Branching Paths gives so much buff. This is setting up, you know, just keep setting up those lethals. We've seen how that can disturb so many game plans. And now I think we'll see Tarei have a proper think in terms of, okay, I'm winning. How do I win? How do I convert?
Yeah.
Because it's not as straightforward as it looks.
I'm not dead. How do I keep not dying?
Death's shadow grows.
And actually, if it goes too long, it could go back the other way. When his vanishes are gone, he'll be an open goal, so he's got to win before too many threats are set on him. So he should win this, but he's got to make sure he gets it right.
So Tarei's first instinct, he grabbed the Valera there, and what that's telling me is there's, you know, a couple pieces that would change the direction he wants to go with his hand, and that he wants one more turn to really figure it out.
Yeah.
You cannot escape the shadow of death.
So the reaction there from Marcopolo tells me that he did not have that card tracked, or that he's surprised that Tarei is like, wow, already using it?
Tarei next turn gets Vanish and a bunch of 4/4s. He's not that far from setting up his own lethal here.
The other thing too is the hand size. You know, if Soul of the Forest is in play and your hand is filled up, what that means is that the Death Rattle on those minions activates.
Oh.
So you get 2/2s instead.
Oh, that's smart.
So if he could fill up his hand and Soul of the Forest, you're looking at a lot of different 2/2s on board.
2016 Tarei would walk straight into that one.
The thing about it that I'm looking at is I see 2 Wax Elementals, and there's Valera in play. That is well more than enough, I think, to fend off a large portion of that damage.
Yep.
Plus a charge in hand.
Yep. Plus the weapon's still up.
Yeah. In this instance, you know, 4 minions go back. That means 3 Treants get created. And that is easy pickings if you're in Tarei's spot.
Yeah, he's just going to murder these things and set up a whole load of damage for himself.
Tarei is much more interested in having the Wax Elementals play a heavy defensive role.
Yeah, he's being super greedy with these things. He wants to get 4 of them down.
Well, I'm really curious if that was going to be the play, how he spends the rest of this mana, because this could have been 2 South Sea Deckhands into Vanish into 2 more South Sea Deckhands. You create a South Sea Deckhand that way.
Yep.
So is that a misstep?
It looks like it could have been.
I would, unless he spends some extra mana here doing something, I'm going to call that an error.
I wonder if that was I better do something to it. Admirable doesn't call it an error, Brewmaster.
Well, I think it's I have 2 mana that I need to spend because I have Valyria and Mimic Pod, so I might as well do something. You know, there's arguments to both sides of that story. I think that the 2 South Sea Deckhands into Vanish is probably a little stronger. And you have a Brewmaster in hand.
Yeah, the Brewmaster's good here because it's extra 4 damage to face immediately if you keep it in hand.
It also can act as the pseudo Zola, where, you know, with the Shadow Reflection from Valyria, you can Brewmaster one of the Brewmasters from the Valyria Shadow Reflection and then start creating cards in hand.
Yeah, that turn didn't feel very tight at all. It felt a little bit... It didn't look right at the end of the turn. You look what he had, you look what he's got on the board at the end of the turn, you're like, something wasn't quite right there. And although we're talking as if this is over, Marcopolo is constantly finding ways to set up lethals.
Oh, it's definitely not over yet. I mean, Tarei still needs some help. The thing about it is it's so likely to happen. Now, that's not the one I'm thinking is so likely to happen, but...
That helped.
Here's the thing. That is the second Fan of Knives. That can be a big deal, because Spreading Plague, one of the ways that you push through that as a Quest Rogue player is you attack your 4 attack things in, and then you Fan of Knives.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to find a, you know, an honest way to win now, and...
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
So close, but...
It's hard for me to criticize Tarei on this deck. He is an expert in this machine. I have, you know, some reps with Killing. Some reps with Killing is a lot fewer than a ton of reps with Killing, as the 2 of them have practiced a lot before.
Right. But it just didn't look right a couple of times on this game. The previous game looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah, see, I have the liberty of Tarei getting me to this spot and then being able to evaluate afterwards.
Correct, yeah. I'm not in this one. I'm dead. I've gone a long time ago.
It's probably not the one you're looking for. If you keep the board small, you're less vulnerable to Plague.
Yeah, that's what he's been trying to do. Like you say, that double fan being used.
That's what he's thinking about. I bet that's exactly what Tarei's thinking about.
Yeah.
Enough pressure is what I need. I don't need 7 4/4s on board. I need just enough.
Well, Marcopolo's seen both vanishes, so I'm trying to think of any downsides to just spamming things all over the board now. We're both leaning intently, looking at this position. It's so complex.
Marco's hand is just kind of bad.
Attention, class.
But he doesn't need it to be great because Tarei's defenses are running out.
Well, from his perspective, perhaps.
Oops.
Oh, boy.
That'll get a lot done.
That's probably going to secure what I would call an official, you know, stompingly big lead.
Yes. Speaking of your capacity as official stomping big lead caller, I think I can join you there. There is that second Spreading Plague, but it doesn't seem that relevant.
Build your own Giggly Inventor. It's so weird to me that Wax Elemental is played.
I don't know. I get it.
It's just so weird.
Creepy, weird cards end up in combo decks quite a lot.
It's just annoying.
That's what Giggling Inventor was. It wasn't a whole bunch of value. It just sat there and got in the way.
Actually just scowling at it.
He actually is as well. You're not a fan of this Wax Elemental, are you?
I don't like it.
It's a 4/4 with Taunt and Divine Shield for 1 mana.
If it was like the Candelabra from Beauty and the Beast, you know, and had like a cool French accent and was clever and witty, that'd be great. But Wax Element just kind of goes, bleh.
I love him. He melts when he sees me.
Death is eternal. My turn is not.
Neil will be here all week.
Yeah. Especially the way some of these rounds are going. This is, I was going to say old school. By old school, I mean like 3 months ago Hearthstone, where everything is just sort of ground to a halt and people are just chewing through each other's boards. And one of them's doing it with 1 attack minions and one of them's doing it with 4 attack minions, which is a bit quicker chewing from that side.
Yeah. You know, it's quite bad for Marcopolo right now. It's not how you envision the game going.
Yeah, Tarei still has that Vicious Scalehide in hand for whenever he wants to gain
the wax
another 8.
Still has the Glacial Shard.
Nice to meet you.
Wow.
Trying to force the higher attack, higher health minions.
And we've already seen Quest Rogue beat Paladin on stream this week once already. Can Tarei do a reverse sweep with Quest Rogue in the latter stages of 2018?
There's one person to pick to do it.
It's him. I picked Tarei.
I'm starting to really second guess myself on my prediction.
I mean, that's bad. If you second guess when there's only 2 to choose from, you're not going to be wrong very often. It's like, hey, my second guess is the other guy.
Yeah, right. I mean, you'd think I can't be the wrong that often, but, you know, then it's me. Well, hang on a second. That's a pretty big one.
We're also, though, in the territory now where if Marcopolo gets one huge attack in, it might not quite be lethal. Because Tarei sort of clawed back a bit of health.
Savage Roars.
Yeah.
He used a branching pass for draw this game, right?
Yeah, I think he's down to this just 1 attack. So he'll get a massive attack in, but it might not be enough. That's the danger. Tarei doesn't have the full clear every time.
Board space is a very relevant thing here for Tarei, too. So for Marcopolo, I don't know. I think that Soul of the Forest might be enough to get the job done here. I mean, this is 3 spreading plate tokens now. Whoa, 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 whoa.
He's got a different plan.
He very much does, and I am not convinced.
Well,
the reason we didn't Soul the Forest there? Your opponent has to occupy 6 attacks clearing the 3/5 taunts. Then you have 4 more minions on board that have Soul the Forest on them. So even if they clear off 3/5 taunts, they have taunts in the way, they make 2/2s, then you have branching past the Buffaloes up and attack.
Wow.
Neil, I'm going to hard pass on this turn. And I'm going to do what I did earlier with Korra. I'm going to call that an error.
You're allowed to do that? I've read in Twitch chat that you're not allowed to do that.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it makes a difference. I think it still results in a loss in this game. But I think it's an error.
It did feel like he's not playing to outs, but...
Chill out.
I'm just looking at his remaining hand. Maybe he thinks he can do this again after the board's kind of cleared.
What card?
Well, Violet Teacher and Open Summons and the 2/1/1s in hand. Maybe he feels that's the same sort of deal. I don't think it's the same sort of deal. But
I'm going to call that an error.
I'm going to present the counter view of... I have no idea. What I do know is that every turn Tarei's getting 2 draws and Marcopolo's only getting 1, despite the fact that one of them is the Druid. Yeah.
It's going to spell the dagger use. He's been waiting for a long time to get those Sousy deckhands gone.
Yeah, now both of the Spreading Plagues have gone. Now Tarei's just... This is his time to strike.
4/1s, go.
He's got more health, more minions, more mana, and it goes to 2 games apiece. Tarei on the verge of a reverse sweep with Quest Rogue.
And not just Quest Rogue. Took down Murloc Mage with Quest Rogue. Took down Token Druid. That set him to 2. He's only got 1 more to go, and it's Even Paladin.
Yeah, I mean, easy now.
I'm sorry, Odd Paladin. I've been saying even so much because we've seen a lot of Even Paladin.
I was saying yesterday how Odd Paladin's really good against Rogue, now Giggling's gone, and then it lost. Tarei did have the absolute nuts hand there. Both games he had very good hands, but it doesn't matter. He is showing how this deck is not...
When your nuts hand is draw Sonya, like, it's not really that hard to do.
Yeah, it's like saying Jaina Mage's nuts hand is draw Jaina.
Yeah.
It's like, we know. Well done.
Yeah. The people are like, of course you drew Kellis. I'm like, it's been happening for like a year now. Like, it's, you'd think you'd figure it out.
you still think it's not going to happen every time.
Well, there we go. Didn't happen. He's got to find it now.
Good top decking.
Means he's got to find time.
If only he had cards in his hand that killed minions on the turn they were played and gained you health. That would be so good.
So what are you thinking about this matchup here? I've heard a lot of different hot takes.
So before
Paladin.
the nerf, I'm absolutely sure that the Rogue was favored. Before Giggling Inventor. Until yesterday, I was sure that Paladin is now favored. But it lost yesterday, and I don't know. I do feel that the Rogue is at a big disadvantage because it can never stabilize, and the Paladin just keeps pressing the magic button, making the magic happen, and the Rogue, yeah, vanish that. Okay, magic button. Here's some more guys.
So is there more to it from that from the Paladin side? Is there a certain thing they're looking for to do, or is it just simple as hit the button and keep attacking? Like, what key trades are you looking for, if any?
I mean, just hit them in the face. As far as I'm concerned, get those level ups. Hope they don't have fans. I think you're looking for buffs. I think you're looking to have a wide board so that the Rogue has multiple issues. It has the small guys to deal with. It has the wide board. It has a big thing hitting them.
That's sacred. I mean, I recognize the picture. That's a taunt maul, I'm pretty sure.
So it says Blizzard Maul to me. I assume you take out the scale heights because they're a way that the Rogue's going to gain health and control the board. Yeah, you're talking about key trades. That's something I think you have to do.
You just take them out just over time?
Yeah, I don't think you're in a hurry. I do wonder, going back to that Mage game and also looking at how this game's coming out, that Marcopolo is just concentrating on face a little too much. I mean, the idea is to hit them in the face until they die, so...
Kind of like the way he's played, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, last game, I poked a Zola, I'm pretty sure, with his face at one point. That was the difference. That was the one window.
He's saying, if you haven't got fan, you're dead. That's what he's saying here.
That's what he's trying to say. There's a dagger up. Oh, it was the +1 attack one.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. But does he need fan?
Doesn't need it now, but he's gonna need it mighty soon.
I hope you like my invention.
Mighty soon, like now.
I have been told that you never prep Mimic Pod. Multiple Quest Rogue experts. I've prepped Mimic Pod in these spots when I've drawn a second preparation, and they go, no, 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 no.
Tarei disagrees with the experts. It's a general rule, though. I mean, in this situation, you are looking for an emergency measure. It's a bit different.
That's what I think. But I have been told, never prep Mimic Pod. I've been told this several times. I've been yelled at on Discord so many times by doing this.
He also has the second prep, which means that part of the you don't prep Mimic Pod, it's not the Mimic Pod part of the equation. You need that prep for so many things. You need it for Vanish, you need it for your Crystal Core. If you've got another one, maybe you're allowed to do it.
2 Wax Elementals and a prep and a Vanish. When does that timing happen? You have a Novice Engineer loaded up, but probably not for long. Your opponent hasn't used a big buff yet. The Vanish here doesn't really wipe anything out.
I feel like this Vine Cleaver level up on the other side is the big deal for Marcopolo.
Well, I think this is a big turn for Tarei, too.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times you like to Vanish after your opponent has used a big buff and try to offset that, but he needs some progress. And 2 Wax Elementals, prep Vanish. You know, you're missing 1 bounce spell in order to get that done, whether it's Youthful Brewmaster or whether it's Shadow Step at that point. And you know, Paladin does not have a way to push through a taunt minion. So if you actually draw Sonya in this spot too, the Sonya is enough to get it done.
Doesn't normally have a way.
But Tarei says, I want 1 more turn.
Yeah.
So now I look at that turn. This to me is one of the more critical turns of the game for Tarei.
Okay.
You know, I think that we've illustrated how important it is to fight for board aggressively early on, fit in the quest when you have time and when you have mana. You know, Tarei's demonstrated that 3 games in a row now. At this point, I'm curious how important a draw from Novice Engineer could be.
Big deal here for this Fungal Mancer pickup. It's going to allow Marcopolo, if he wants to play 2 buff minions, and they're the things you don't mind getting bounced back to your hand. Because they buff some more things when they come back.
Yeah. I'm looking at these 2 minions on board too, and I really want to kill them.
Yeah, I mean, Rogue struggles when its things have been removed. He relies on bouncing stuff. But Wit, he's doing it again. He's definitely decided to play against Quest Rogue by hitting it in the face as much as he dare.
Yeah, so now I don't think Tarei has time on that Vanish anymore, but the Novice Engineer is still there. Can't take out anything significant. I don't think Tarei can afford to wait. This gives him also a redevelopment of a Wax Elemental in this turn. So going into a Vine Cleaver turn, he's going to have a Wax Elemental down if he wants.
Well,
I think the delay on this made a lot of sense when you look at it in totality.
Now this is a tough turn. You can't just go super wide here. You've got 3/1/1s, you've got a hero power, you've got a veteran. Or you can do it this way, which is a bit slower, but it's a bit more dangerous.
It's an investment, and I think I like it because, you know, it's just very clear Tarei wanted to be strong against this particular turn. I asked myself why. And I think that with level up in hand, with the Vine Cleaver on board, you are easily able to assemble big Sunkeeper Tarim turns, easily able to assemble level up turns, and these are going to be back-to-back if you so need them to be, and Tarei still needs a little bit of help. But this is likely to find it.
That's help. That's more help.
That's more help, much more.
Help is everywhere. Is he gonna get this done, Nathan? Is it gonna happen, man?
I mean, we're approaching what, you know, is starting to look like home free territory. You know, Marcopolo can make a lot of 3-3s, but Tarei's make a lot of 4-4s.
Yeah, that doesn't stack up. But Marcopolo has a lot of buffs.
So many options.
Tarei only needs one of them.
Here we go.
This is Sonya.
Sonya, Sonya's a big deal right here. If you get a Sonya down behind Wax Elementals, Marcopolo has no cards in his deck that reach Sonya behind a taunt. You got to get through the taunt first, and more Wax Elementals that's really scary.
Can you Zola the Sonya just to make it really silly? I mean, you can't, but it seems like you might.
I mean, you got a quest next turn, that's for sure. I think Tarei might be home free.
That's insane. That is insane. If he gets this done against this lineup with the Quest Rogue, it needs nerfing. Tarei is, not the deck.
Oh, okay.
He's nerf Tarei.
I was like, God, we've Quest Rogue so many times.
No, just nerf him. He has to start without Quest Rogue. If only you could ban it or something. Obviously, with this lineup, you don't even consider banning it, but wow, he's going to be one match away.
This is the one you're supposed to take advantage of.
Huh?
This is the one you're supposed to take advantage of.
I know, this is the one. Oh, good, he's got Quest Rogue. I'll start 1-0 up.
I'm freaking out.
This is nuts.
And was this because of Vine Cleaver instead of just plopping down a bunch of things on board?
I think the Vine Cleaver was probably okay.
I mean, it looked fine to me. It just, you know, in hindsight, which is 2020, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not looking so good.
Just 2 years away, and then we can have hindsight on 2020.
Next time on Hindsight 2020.
In 2020.
That's like what it feels like in my head. It feels like it's supposed to be some sort of legal show.
In 2 years' time, he's going to be hindsight in 2020 and 2020. Well, this is apparently the beginning of the end. There is still that level up and a lot of dudes to be made next turn. But then what? And we should point out that at any point Tarei does slip here, he will just die. He's pretty low on health. He's got no health gain. I don't think it's going to happen, but...
Yeah, it's really hard to slip up from here.
Yeah.
He's done the bulk of the work.
Let me think.
Every time I watch one of the experts pilot this deck, it gives me such a unique sense where it is a combination of micro and macro gameplay. Like, you're playing for board as though you are an aggro deck, but you're a very bad aggro deck. And then at some point, you make a very swift transition over into playing for combo. Now, the reward is quite substantial and, you know, quite ridiculous in that regard.
But the investment and the time and the pain getting there, the number of games you must lose horribly before you're learning this deck.
Move quickly.
It must be so many.
Reporting for duty. Ungoro belongs to the fight.
Does set the board to 3-3s, though.
It does.
It's a nice little size that those happen to be when you have Sonya in hand.
Yeah, that's nice. just have some more stuff. I think we might see a reaction from Marcopolo when he sees this Sonya.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Nope, no reaction. Good for you.
Oh. 16 health right now, looks like about 7,000 with what's happening.
7 whole thousand. Wow. Tarei's still calculating things. My brain's just going, kill the things and play some more stuff. And he's just going, calculate, calculate, calculate.
It's kind of back to that, you know, I've been using this adage a lot this weekend of like, when you're so far ahead, is missing lethal actually like a costly thing? Like, you're so far ahead that it's like, how do you lose from this spot?
Lethal's overrated. I mean that as well.
It's like, I mean, a lot of times when you win and if you miss it, it's because you're so far ahead. It's you know, likely to be inconsequential. It is still a colossal mistake, but it's often just not a costly one. You know,
it's one of the lowest percentage mistakes most of the time, despite the fact it costs you your 100%.
Exactly.
It's still 99 and something %. It doesn't usually make much difference.
Misappropriating trades early on, like that's. Why did I keep saying misappropriate? It's not the right word. Misusing trades early on.
It's a good word. It makes you sound
but it's
smart.
the wrong word.
They won't notice.
Told you I was freaking out. When you misuse trades early on, or you use like a swipe before you're supposed to use one, or you know you use a vanish when you're not supposed to. Those are the kinds of things that cost you games. Those are the kinds of plays that are the real blunders that happen. You know, if Tarei could have had a guaranteed 2-turn lethal, but in the process he just murders all of Marcopolo's board and he never has a chance to substantiate pressure.
I mean,
that's a fantastic
strategically,
play.
Which is the long-term planning. Tarei has always been one of the best players in the game.
Yeah.
The thing that's changed in the last 18 months, 12 months to 18 months, is he now doesn't make the silly mistakes along the way, the small-time mistakes that can cost you a game. Yeah, he's always...
Oh, by the way, Leroy makes you 4 whelps.
Yeah. Always have to cut myself short when I see Leroy, like, how many lethals have I missed here? But yeah, the thing that's really changed is his ability in front of the camera, his ability to stay calm under pressure.
I'll tell you what else has changed, though, to score. It's now 3-2 in favor of Tarei. 3 straight games with Questrogue against a full aggro lineup. Anything short of calling him a master on this deck, I think is criminal.
Absolutely ridiculous. He's got one more match. I don't know who he'll play, but I hope he wins it.
Moves up to a 6-2 match score on the day with 1 more round of Swiss to go. That's going to move Marcopolo down to 5-3. Still a valiant effort and a pretty darn solid performance this weekend from what we've seen. I liked a lot of the risks that Marcopolo took. I liked his pushes for damage. It just sometimes it bees that way.
Yeah, and the face says, it's just a face of, he got me, I don't know how, but well done. He was really congratulatory there. He's just like,
I just watched it and I don't know how.
Yeah. I don't think he thinks he's thrown it. I think he just thinks, you done me. He didn't make many glaringly obvious mistakes. There were decisions that could have made things go differently, I think.
As is the nature of, you know, most games of Hearthstone.
Yeah, and hindsight.
Yeah. Sometimes your decisions lead to the same path too, but you know sometimes they lead to very different ones.
I mean, the mage game could go really differently if he draws another fireball.
Oh yeah.
The fact he didn't fireball a Sonya or whatever looked kind of like it cost him, but if he draws another fireball and he just fireballs Tarei twice the face,
yeah, go for the lethal.
Totally different.
Go for the win. You know, if you delay the game, sometimes you're just not going to win that way, and I think that's personally, I think that's the position he was in.
Yeah, I think he drew a lot of cards in that game as well and just didn't draw any more burns. So that is done, though. Tarei has managed to hang on in the tournament. Marcopolo sort of probably still wondering how he hasn't, but 5-3, he is almost certainly out of the event. Yeah, with round 8 coverage that's going on here at DreamHack Atlanta. We're not done just yet. We'll have some more matches that are coming up. We got to go quick break. And when we come back, we'll have more coverage from round number 8, so don't go anywhere.